Alright, let's dive into a story that's equal parts fascinating and heartbreaking: Stevie Nicks, The Closet, and the song that came out of it. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me hit you with this: what if the most creative moments in an artist's life come from the most isolating ones? Personally, I think there's something profoundly human about that idea. It's not just about the music, it's about the struggle, the silence, and the way artists turn their pain into something universal. So, here's the deal. In 1982, Stevie Nicks, fresh off the whirlwind of Fleetwood Mac's Rumours era, found herself in a situation that was both liberating and terrifying. She was alone. Now, let's set the stage. Stevie had just wrapped up her Belladonna tour, which she described as one of the most exhilarating experiences of her life. But here's the kicker: when the tour ended, the screams of the crowd faded, and she was left with nothing. No band to fall back on, no chaos to distract her. She moved into her dream house, but it turned into a nightmare. Cold, empty, just her and her piano. What many people don't realize is that this kind of isolation can be paralyzing, especially for someone who spent years in the eye of the storm. Stevie didn't just retreat, she retreated into her closet. Literally. She took her quilt, her pillows, her writing stuff, and her stereo, and that's where she lived. It's such a vivid image, right? The queen of rock and roll, surrounded by her clothes, trying to make sense of her new reality. What makes this really interesting is the song that came out of this period, The Wild Heart. On the surface, it's a track about freedom and independence, but if you dig deeper, it's about the cost of that freedom. Stevie said it herself: learn to live with Stevie, learn to be a stranger, learn to live in silence. That line hits hard because it's not just about her, it's about anyone who's ever felt lost in their own life. In my opinion, this is where Stevie's genius lies. She doesn't just write songs, she writes emotional blueprints. She takes her pain and turns it into something relatable, something that makes you feel less alone. But here's the part that really gets me: Stevie's closet wasn't just a physical space, it was a metaphor. She was reckoning with her independence, realizing that maybe she had become addicted to the chaos of Fleetwood Mac. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a universal struggle. How many of us have stayed in toxic situations because they felt comfortable? Stevie's story is a reminder that breaking free isn't just about leaving, it's about learning to live with yourself afterward. And that's the hard part. One thing that immediately stands out is how Fleetwood Mac's success became a double-edged sword. Rumours was a masterpiece, but it also trapped them in their own drama. Stevie's breakup with Lindsey Buckingham, the band's internal conflicts, it all became fuel for their art. But what happens when the drama stops? What happens when you're left with just yourself? That's the question Stevie was grappling with in that closet. And honestly, I think that's why The Wild Heart feels so raw. It's not just a song, it's a confession. What this really suggests is that creativity often thrives in discomfort. Stevie didn't write The Wild Heart from a place of happiness, she wrote it from a place of desperation. And that's what makes it timeless. It's not just a track on an album, it's a snapshot of a moment in her life when everything felt uncertain. From my perspective, that's the beauty of art. It's not about perfection, it's about honesty. Stevie didn't have all the answers, and she didn't pretend to. She just put her feelings out there, and that's why we still connect with her music decades later. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Stevie's story isn't just about her, it's about the price of fame, the cost of creativity, and the struggle to find yourself when the world keeps telling you who you are. What many people don't realize is that artists like Stevie are constantly battling their own narratives. They're not just making music, they're trying to make sense of their lives. And sometimes, that means retreating into a closet, surrounded by silence, and figuring it out one lyric at a time. So, here's my closing thought: Stevie Nicks' closet isn't just a quirky footnote in rock history, it's a symbol. It's a reminder that the most meaningful art often comes from the darkest, most isolated places. Personally, I think that's why her music resonates so deeply. It's not just about the melodies or the lyrics, it's about the humanity behind them. So, the next time you listen to The Wild Heart, remember the closet. remember the silence. And remember that sometimes, learning to live with yourself is the hardest song you'll ever write.